Hello, and thank you all for watching my Magic the Gathering Online League review. This is a league that has already happened. This is not live. I'm just reviewing the league, making some commentary, talking about some of the decisions I made. And today we'll be playing some Modern, playing the Amulet TITAN deck, one that I have been playing for quite a while. Say I'm pretty familiar with it. And with that, let's go and begin with match 1, game 1 of this 5-match league. So we won the die roll, puts us on the play. Our opponent is playing a companion, they're playing Loros. This starting hand is a little risky. It's got a lot of lands, and the scout to put those lands into play. I think it's worth trying. It does have Talea West, so we could end up transmuting for a Pact later on. Go and start with the scout. Turn into Blood Crypts. Into the push. That's not good for our hands. Pact's a okay draw. Be able to get us a Titan later. Looks like they are a Death Shadow deck, as they've already dealt 6 damage to themselves on turn 2. Not really much we can do here. I got a pretty big glyph going. Inquisition gets rid of our Pact. Maybe I should have played a last turn to get the Azusa and just try to get some of these lands out. They're going to attack us with a 5/6 glyph, as they have filled their graveyard up pretty well with some different card types. Okay, Dryad's a pretty good draw here, because that's going to let us get some of these lands onto the battlefield. Could have played my land first and then played him, or played him and then played a land that doesn't have an ETB trigger, but also with them being completely tapped out, playing around the removal isn't really too important. Still a good habit to have though. Played turf, bounce the land. So now, if I draw the Titan, I'm set up to be able to cast Primetime next turn. If I don't draw it, I'm set up to be able to transmute this Talea West. So they do have the Dismember, which means now I can't transmute the Talea West. Then the attack in for 6, putting us here at 9 life. Really need something good. Land is not good. Play out this Talea West, and they snapcast. No value here, nothing in their graveyard to be able to cast, so it's just a 2/1 body. Attacking for 8, putting us down to 1. Not looking good. And there's a Death Shadow, so not looking too great for us. They just have a lot of power. And there's a Titan off the top. That is definitely what we wanted to see. Let's go ahead and play out this Titan. Can't get haste this turn, but we can get some good value lands, make some zombies, and make this Termaglyph smaller. Also, with him having Los as their companion, getting rid of these cards in the graveyard just is really helpful. Also, with him being a Snapcaster deck, Bog just is really helpful here. So shrink Termaglyph down to a 3/4, make 2 zombies, and get rid of some Snapcaster targets. Play our lane for the turn, setting up for next turn being able to double strike our Titan because we already have the Sun Home out. And then just bouncing this Paducah Bog so we can either target them again if they fill up their graveyard, or target ourselves to get rid of this Tarmogoyf, or make it a 0-1. Another Snapcast, so it's good. Again, no value, it's just a 2-1. Spellbomb. And then they end up targeting us with that Spellbomb, which then makes the Tarmogoyf a 1-2. I mean, we're at 1 life anyway, so a 1-2 is just as lethal as a 3-4. And with the Tarn, he can make it into a 2-3. He swings with the Shadow. We're at 1. He can Tarn and he can fetch. And if he has the Temur Battle Rage, we just die to that anyway. So we'll triple block here, forcing him to either have some answers or take 3 life to trade his Death Shadow for 3 zombie tokens. Looks like he is taking the 3 damage to make this trade. And another Titan off the top. That's just good for us. Play this Bog, make his graveyard small, make his Tarmogoyf a 0-1. We could play with this Titan, but I already played the land for turn, I can't give it haste, and we already have the double strike, just attacking in here with Titan, getting 2 more lands, making more zombie blockers. Just seems like the better play. Divisuva, copying the field, gives us a lot of zombies. That Fountain puts us at a K command range. Still in bolt range if he is playing bolts. He doesn't have the red open for it now. And it's another Snapcaster, so that's a lot of 1 toughness creatures against a 6/6 double striker. So he's completely tapped out now. This is just an easy give it double strike. First strike damage is going to kill all 3 of those Snapcasters, deal 3 to him. Second strike damage is going to, or regular strike damage, is going to deal the remaining 6 to him. And we end up picking up game 1 against 4-color Loros Death Shadow. Alright, so on to game 2 against 4-color Death Shadow. I sideboarded against him siding an Ashiok, not realizing at the time that he can't actually play Ashiok with his companion. So I ended up putting in Beast Whisper and Beast Within and taking out the Summoner's Pact. I also took out a Scout and a Ghost Quarter. The deck's heavy on lands, you can always cut a lands. And then I put in the Chameleon Colossus and the Ruakthar. So he'll take to play. Okay hand here. I got a turn 1 Scout. Potentially a turn 2. I can't actually get the turn 2 Dryad, but turn 3 Dryad. Alright, so I drew the Amulet, which makes this really tough. I can go with the turn 1 Scout into if it gets pushed. I've kind of wasted my turn 1, or the Amulets, which if it gets stubborn, I kind of waste my turn 1. So it's a kind of a tough call of which one I would rather play around, the Stubborn Denial or the Push. I go with the Amulet, because if this doesn't get countered, it's going to be a better result for me, and it does get Stubborn Denial. So I don't know if you also had to push. I don't know if either one I played into was going to die. But there's the Thoughtseize to take away the Titan, so they're just tearing this hand apart. Luckily, I do draw the Forest, so I get to play the Scout. The mana might have been another reason to play the Scout over the Amulet, because Coming to Vestige only added a green that first turn, so I kind of got lucky there on that Forest. If I didn't draw that Forest, I wouldn't have been able to play the Scout, so I probably should have played the Scout first. If it did get pushed, then next turn I just play the Amulet, using the Vestige. And then I could have one of these come play tap lands, be my second land, so. As long as I play this deck, I still make mistakes like that. Alright, again, got lucky drawing a come play on tap land, so I get to play this Dryad. And then get to play out another land, doesn't really matter which one. I just want to save the West in hand, because with Dryad I actually have 3 blue mana, I can transmute it and go get a lot of different things. At this point, it's kind of looking like getting a Bajuka Bog, because I want to hit his graveyard and make this Gloive smaller. Alright, put in this Simic Growth Chamber, bouncing the Vestige. That way, even if he kills this Dryad, I can still get my triple blue. Play the Vestige out. Get my blue mana. And have, or double blue, which I need to transmute West, and then I go and get the Bajuka Bog. Get rid of his graveyard, make Tamagloif a lot less scary. Inquisitions doesn't hit anything, but he does put a sorcery in the graveyard, which does make the Gloive back to a 4/5. Attacks in. At this point, I just want to block, so I'm going to tap my Scout, put Vesuva in. Now, to get the field, I need 7 different land names, so I actually have to copy one of his lands to get a different name. So I'm going to go with the Steam Vents. That way, I have my 7 different names, and I get to chump block the Gloive here, keep my life total relatively high. He's got quite a bit of lands over there for Death Shadow. Yeah, he's got a pretty nice board over there. I need something good, and I just draw a Scout. Not exactly what I wanted there. I guess I can't always top a Titan off the top of the deck. I'll block one of them. I do want to keep some of my Scouts safe, so I'll block the bigger one. I mean, but they're both 4s, but with Delta on the battlefield, you could easily make Death Shadow bigger. Bounce land's actually pretty good here. I just get to play it twice, making 2 zombies, which are going to be great chump blockers. So pretty much I'm just trying to avoid a Temur Battle Rage. He pushes my Scout, I just make another zombie. Still bouncing the Simic Growth Chamber just so I can keep playing it. He could have actually pushed my Dryad there if he sacked his Delta, but I guess he's just not afraid of that right now. Go ahead and throw my jump blockers. Or maybe he's still trying to preserve his life total because he is only at 9 and Titan does swing for 8. Slayers is a okay draw there. I get to +2, and Vigilance is a big part there because I still get to keep my zombie as a blocker. So just use that Dryad mana, get my red and my white mana, and swing with a 4/2, which does make his shadow bigger, just making me have to dodge that Temur Battle Rage more. Thought Scours himself, hitting 2 Aether Gusts. Bobbles me. He replays it with his lowest ability. If he has a Battle Rage, I'm not winning this, so I'm just gonna single block and hope he doesn't have it. And he actually doesn't have it. He bobbles me during my upkeep while that triggers on the stack. Pact actually resolves. I get to Titan. Now here's, I mess up on a few things. So I should play the land out first before I play the Titan. Tap my mana here, and then I should play the land out. But I play the Titan first. And then he pushes. And then in response to that push, I should have floated the mana. I could have gave the Titan haste there. But at this point, I don't know if hasting Titan's really what I want to do, because he does have a blocker. That does kill Titan. I definitely should have played the land out first. I don't know if not giving a haste was the wrong play. So I'll go and get the Garrison to be able to activate Stronghold for a later turn. Make my 2 zombies. Get my West to be able to transmute for either another Titan or something, whatever I need. So I just, bounce the Paducah Bog. I want to get rid of his graveyard again. I don't like him having the ability to Snapcast an Aether Gust. And then I can't really attack into the Glyph with my zombies. So I just sit back in defense with a lot of blockers. He's got another Glyph. Those still pretty big Glyphs. And I'm still just trying to dodge this Temur Battle Rage. It looks like he's actually a little afraid of the swing back, being that he's only at 5, so he doesn't actually swing into me here. Pay my Pact. Saving as much blue mana open as I can, so tapping the 2 Forest. I want to be able to transmute this Teleia West. Draw a Karn, which is a pretty good draw here. Now I have a lot of choices of what I can get. I can get the Metamorph, copy a Titan, get a second Titan out, make a lot of more zombies. I can get the Engineer Explosives for 2, but with Loros, he just replays the Glyphs. Or for 1, he just replays the Death Shadow, doesn't do a whole lot. I can Ensnaring Bridge and just lock him out of attacking and try to close the game with Walking Ballista. I can Relic and just make his Glyphs 0/1s and draw a card. All pretty good options there, but I think just closing this game out with Ballista, getting out that Ensnaring Bridge, and just making more zombies saves me from the Temur Battle Rage. Because it's not just the Glyphs I'm really afraid of, it's this 8/8 Death Shadow. So now he can't attack. Go ahead and just get the Walking Ballista this time. Play up my lands, and then it was going to be a matter of question of how much do I Walking Ballista? Do I play around the Disdainful Stroke and maybe only do it for 2 and then just pump it? Then it dies to push, and then it's a longer process to try to get it back with Karin. I could just tap all my mana to play it as a 6/6 and then have it countered by Disdainful Stroke or the Mystic Dispute, where I couldn't pay the 3, so I could play around the Mystic Dispute if I think that he put that in, which I do actually see one in his graveyard, so I know he does have it. I mean, I could play around the Snapcast into the Mystic Dispute as well. He did have mana for that, so yeah, it definitely would have been a question of how much to play it for, but he conceded before he even had to worry about that decision, so end up getting game 1 and game 2 of match, picking up the match for the 2-0 win against 4-color Death Shadow. Going into match 2, we won the die roll, so we'll be on the play again. So this hand's quite risky. It does have Scout, Amulet, Grazier. It's just missing the lands. Like one bounce land would make this hand's explode. But we're on the play. It's too big a risk. So many ways to get extra lands into play, but only one land. So it's just not worth the risk. This hand's slightly better. Doesn't actually have the double green to play the Courser. It's just got a lot of the utility lands that we don't really want to see in our opener, besides Castlebring, or at least it's a castle. But it's worth keeping. I think this might be better than going on to 5, so we'll keep this and put one of these 2 Titans on bottom. Looks like we're playing against another Loros deck, possibly the same 4-color Death Shadow version. There's Mistress Bauble to Catacombs, slightly different. Alright, there's a Dryad. That's going to be good. That's going to let us play some additional lands and give us a double green that we need. It does look like different than 4-color Death Shadow. Yeah, there's a good player. So it's Sultai. Alright, here's our Amulet. So play the Radiant Fountain, gain our 2 life, play out the Dryad, play our additional lands, and then play out the Amulet. So we're set up pretty well for next turn if we can draw that land. They traverse. There you go, get a basic swamp, play the basic swamp, and then they attack. Now, the main phase traverse before combat, it looks like they're trying to put a sorcery in the graveyard, so they're only 1 instant away from being able to get Delirium and make this a 4/4. Not worth to attack or to block here. if they do have a push, they can cast on my Dryad. Doesn't actually kill my Dryad because nothing left the battlefield. Doesn't have Revolt, but it's still an instant, and it still would kill my Dryad through Grimflare being a 4/4. So I'll just take the 2 damage, let him get his effect. He uses that effect to put an enchantment in a land in the graveyard, so that does turn on a Delirium. And I do draw the land. So now I get to tap the mana to play the Titan. Turn 4 Titan. And I already have Dryad plus the Valakut, so I'll be able to go get the haste lands, deal 6 damage to face, attack for 8, go get another 2 lands, one of those being the fetch lands. But he sees this and concedes before I even get to do all that. It was at least 15 damage. I was going to be swinging it for a lot, so pick up game 1. Going into game 2 now. Only sideboard, I put in the Chameleon Colossus, taking out one of the Engineered Explosives. Just against decks like Loros, they just bring things back from the grave. Me killing things isn't really what I want to be doing, since he just bring it back. So take out the Engineered Explosive and put in a creature that's pro-black. Really good hand here. Really set up for if I draw a lands that doesn't come and play tapped. This could, and they don't have interaction. This is actually a turn 2 win. Turn 1 Amulet, turn 2 second Amulet, Azusa, bounce land, Titan, play Titan, give it double strike and haste and +4, swing for 20 damage on turn 2. So let's hope for that and keep this hand. Also, let's hope they don't have interaction, because interaction does stop the turn 2. Any kind of Thoughtseize or Stubborn Denial. Also, not drawing the land that comes into play untapped also stops the turn 2, so I guess we'll just have to settle for a turn 3. They've gotten themselves down to 15. There's a 2/3 Gloive, not that scary right now. There's a Titan, that's good. I already had one in the form of the Summer's Pact, but second Titan, less risky as well. Because I already have the second Karoo, I'm just going to bounce this Talair West. There's no reason to bounce itself. And then I can play out the second Amulet. And hope for the turn 3. Hope he doesn't have interaction. There's the attack. And really scared here with all the mana he has open. And he could have counter magic, he could have removal. He didn't play anything on his turn, so still gonna, we're not just gonna not do anything here. So I'm not just gonna try to start with the jamming at the Titan. I'm actually gonna start with the Azusa. Just kind of allows me, maybe they'll counter the Azusa, and then I'll pact for another Azusa, and then I'll play the Titan. Maybe, yeah, kind of bait out their decision with the Azusa. Play my second lands. So Zeus is going to be net me a lot of mana here. Each, because of these amulets and Simic Growth Chamber, each one of these growth chambers is 4 mana. So I'm just going to be working with a lot of mana here. In response to this bounce trigger, before I get to play my third land for the turn, he's just going to Abrupt Decay my Azusa, cut back some of my mana, but that does leave him with only 1 mana open, which is going to allow me to just play at this Titan. He could have the Stubborn for the Pact, but he can't Stubborn the Titan, so go and play him out. And yeah, he concedes to the 10-10 double striker that's about to be after I go get the haste lands and then get to Vesuva and the double strike lands. So pick that matchup 2-0 against Sultai Loros. Now into match 3. This time we lost the die roll, so we'll be on the draw. Again, our opponent is playing a companion, but this time it is a Bosch. Our starting hands, it's okay. It's keepable, it's a little risky if they without Bosch, most likely they're not playing like a Thoughtseize kind of deck. Turn 1 Arbor Elf. Gonna start with our Amulet. So it looks like they're like a Ponza deck. Which our hand's not great against. Like, this hand just loses to a Blood Moon right now. Alright, Dryad's a good draw here, so we get to Cavern to get our green. We could go to Gemstone for the green, but I don't want to deplete all those counters so soon, especially against a Ponza deck. I don't want to be destroying my own lands, so I'll just play the Cavern for the Dryad. Play the Dryad, and play out one more additional lands. As much as I want to save this for after the Blood Moon effect, because of how layering works, I can't really afford to wait for him to potentially get it, especially when I don't have the force to play him through a Blood Moon. So just getting him now, and getting the extra land drop to try to get me to 6 mana faster. So there is the reason for playing Planebound Accomplice, whatever this is, as to, I guess, Karin to get some additional ways to destroy lands. I don't know. But they destroy our Dryad, or essentially destroy it. It's exiled under Karin, and Karin's going to go win the turn. And then they pillage my Blast Zone over the Amulet. I guess they just really want to stick to their Ponza and destroying lands. And then they attack in for another 2. And then Karn goes away. At this point, play at the Gemstone Mine, so I can transmute Talaria West, get a bounce land. I want to get, just because of Field of the Dead, I want to get not one of the ones I play 4 of, just so I can try to get those different names for that. So I get a Girl Turf, because as long as it produces green, it doesn't really matter which bounce land I get. I just need one, so that next turn I can play Titan. They attack in for another 2. They're not really doing anything too scary yet. It looks like they're 1 mana shy of playing a Bosch. I don't know how many Planeswalkers they run, but this Planebound does not seem very good when you draw more of it than you draw walkers. Here we go. Play at the Gurt Turf they know about. Bounce. Cavern so I can replay it on something more effective. Get to prime time, play at the prime time, go get the haste lands, strongholds. Doesn't really matter what I bounce, I'm just going to bounce this gemstone mine. That only has one counter left on it. After I give Titan haste, attacking. And then here, because I have to pay for a pact, I'm going to go and honor the Blood Moon, or the Megas of the Moon, whichever one they may be playing. And I'm just going to go get 2 basic 4s, but again with different names. So I have those different land names for Field of the Dead. And they finally drew their 5th lands. Not good enough against Titan. Pick up game 1 against the Bosch Panza. On to game 2. After sideboarding, took out 2 of the packs. They're just a risk against the Blood Moon effects. I'm guessing he probably plays at least one of them main, maybe even plays more of them sideboard, so just take out the packs, put in the Rook Tower only because I can play it with the red mana from the Blood Moon. It's also just a big 6/6 beater that reaches if he is playing any of the flying dragons. And then also put in the Rex Sage to try to hit that Blood Moon, and the Beast within for the Blood Moon or Megas of the Moon. Taking out one of the injured explosives. They're tough to put too much mana against a Blood Moon. When they have Blood Moon out, the most I can do it for is 2 without getting the Dryad, and at that point I already am fine against Blood Moon. So yeah, if I can pay the 3 mana into the EE, then I'm probably good against Blood Moon. It's a pretty good hand. A lot of lands and a lot of ways to put those lands into play. Really not going to do well against the Blood Moon though, so let's hope we can dodge it or draw something for it. Again, they get their turn 1 Arbor Elf. We get our turn 1 Scout. Want to name Scout here. The only other creature that's relevant is Golos, but I don't play any other snakes and I don't play any other shamans. Rex Sage, I did put him in, so I guess he is a shaman. I could have named shaman there for Rex Sage. Not very likely either of those going to be relevant. And they get the turn 2 Megas. Not good for us. Now the one thing about the Megas is I do get to play these bounce lands without actually having to bounce a land, which means it's actually going to ramp me when I get rid of this Megas of the Moon. So I want to get those out first and just pretty much nullify their drawback of having to bounce a land. Put in more lands. And there's my answer for Megas of the Moon. Really nice draw there. And now because I'm not afraid of him hitting things in my hand, I'm just going to minus it right away in case he gets rid of it with a Karn or whatever other effect he might have. And I'm just going to go get Sky Sovereign now. He plays out his Bosch. And then attacks in at Karn. Now, I can block the Magus and let the Karn live, but then this Arbor Elf is going to get through, going to deal 2 points of damage because of the Sabosh, going to leave it at 1, and then he's going to have 3 creatures, and I'm going to have a Karn at 1. That's going to take me a while to plus up or get anywhere. Like, it's, at this point, I just want to trade with his Arbor Elf, cut him off some of his mana, and kill one of his creatures. But before my scout dies, I'm going to put in another lands, put in this mountain. Alright, and now I draw my basic forest. Not that matters, because I'm going to get all my land types back as I play as Sky Sovereign. And now I have a lot of mana because of these bounce lands come in play as without having to bounce a land. Now he does have 8 power attacking here for pretty good clock. I need to find something soon. I have some Azusas, which are just going to be chump blockers, but they will get to chump block 6 of the damage, making this clock a lot more reasonable. There's a Rurik Thar. Unfortunately, I killed my red source of mana by killing that Megas. So at this point, I'll just play Azusa. I do have the Wooded Foothills, but I don't play a mountain in the deck that I can actually search for. Tax in, I'll chump block here, take 2, go to 8. So I'm getting low. It looks like he's drawing quite a bit of lands though, which is good for us. I'm going to put 2 counters on this Blast Zone. Try to get it up to... I don't really want to do it for 5 because I do lose my Sky Sovereign, but I get to kill his Abosh, so it might end up being worth it. So I drew my red source, but it comes in taps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, and I'm actually going to bounce this Cavern, and then play my Zusa so I can play another land drop, and then play this Cavern, naming Warrior. Oregon Warrior, the exact same the name. I don't play any other Warriors, and I don't play any other Orgs. But either way, I get my red mana to play an uncounterable Rurik Thar. So now I got 6/6 out there, which actually hinders me from casting non-creature spells. Because I'm at too low of a life to cast anything from it. He attacks again. I can trade my Rurik Thar for his Abosh, but really I want to be the only one with a creature left on the battlefield, so I'm going to crew this Sky Sovereign and then just block each of his creatures. So I trade my 2 for his 2, but I just have a Rurik Thar left, which is going to be a 3-turn clock here. Got another lands, which is fine. I have the clock right now anyway. I just need him to not top deck. Which it looks like he's doing a fine job at. He's got another lands. I draw a Scout, not very good. But again, it's not so much what I draw. I've already got the clock right here. I'll go and play with the Scout. It's 1 more attacker. He's getting at a low life where a 1/1 attacker could actually be scary. And then there's no reason to play at this land. I'll just keep holding it. There's the Megas, which is just going to be a chump blocker. So here's a prime time. I can't actually play it though, because now that he has a Megas, I only have 1 green mana, so I have to attack without playing my prime time first. He chump blocks there, takes his 1, goes to 3, and now that Megas is dead, I'll go and play out my Vestige, get a green. I probably could still hold it for later. there's no reason to play it there. I have plenty of mana to do everything, but play that Titan, and yeah, before I even get to grab my Field of the Dead plus Forest, he goes and concedes. Actually, I don't even know if I'd need to grab a second Forest there. I have the Foothills, which I could have actually sacked that Foothills in response to the Magus and had that double green. I wasn't really thinking about that. I wasn't expecting to draw the Titan, but their Karn is beating the Magus, because without Karn there, I definitely would not have been able to win that. So there we go, 2-0 against what should be a really tough matchup, Hansa. Match 4 of this league. This time we actually lost a die roll, so we will be on the draw. Really bad starting hand here. Just 2 lands. Can't even play Dryad. Not a whole lot going on well for this hand, so pretty easy mulligan here. This next hand, it's got a lot of ways to put lands into play, but again, it's very short on lands. It's only got 2. It could be a keepable hand. It's kind of risky. We are playing 30 lands, so there is a good chance that we draw more, but it's a little too risky, so I think we can do better with 5. Okay, not the worst 5-card hand. We got Azusa plus lands plus the Pact. We will have to put some of these on the bottom, but it's a keepable 5, so we're going to keep it. Put one of these Forest on bottom and this Cavern. We still got 3 lands. We got not a terrible hand. Again, our opponent is playing a companion in the form of Loros again. Mr. Bobble. Looks like another 4-color Death Shadow. And there's a Thoughtseize, which makes mulligan down to 5 so much worse. So we are in a really bad spot here. Drew lands. Not the worst thing. I mean, right now that's kind of just what we want to do, is draw lands and eventually get to Titan. There's a 1/1 Death Shadow on turn 2. Another lands. So we'll just play that, bounce this Garden, try to make more blockers to try to get us to 6 mana so we can Titan, because that's going to be our only way of getting out of this. We're high enough life total, and this Death Shadow is only going to get bigger, so we can just take the hit while it's only a 4/4 right now. We'll save this blocker for later. They get to traverse for another Death Shadow, and we get to draw more lands. So at this point, just going to Pact, get some of these lands out onto the battlefield, get our hands Thoughtseize proof, and then eventually, if we can get there, we can bounce this Taleo West to our hands with the Boris Garrison, transmute for our Pact, and actually get our Titan. It's a whiles away, though. We'll hopefully try to live that long. Push one of our blockers. Still the only 4/4s. We can still continue to take the damage. Pay for the Pact here. Doesn't quite matter how we pay it. With the snow covered in hands, we could play anything we draw anyway. Drawing more lands, just play out these lands. The sequencing there, playing that Forest first. If he does kill the Azusa, at least I get 2 land drops. Although if he would kill, he'd probably kill it before I begin my turn, so I only get 1 land drop. And then they Snapcaster. I don't know if they misclicked or didn't realize that they didn't have the blue open, but they do Snapcast targeting the Thought Scour rather than push. And then they end up not being able to cast it. So that might have just been a misclick on them, or a realizing what mana they had open. We get to attack in here. At this point, we got to block. I mean, it's just too risky that they could have something. And then, as we draw another land, we can haste this or +2 this Azusa and swing in for a 3. But that's not enough to kill them, and then they get to swing back. So, unfortunately, we just flood out this game, only drawing not a single non-land. Our opener hand had the 2 non-lands that we ended up having that game. So, that was 5 turns of drawing lands. So we'll pick up this game and we'll hope for better game 2. Going on to game 2, sideboard taking out the Ghost Quarter and 1-unit Engineer Explosives again against the Loros deck. We really just don't want to be Engineer Explosive. They just recast their creatures pretty easily. Even though they do have mostly 1 and 2 convert mana costs, mainly just 2, it's still just being able to kill the board just so they can replay it isn't really worth the slot. So we put in Rurikthar and Chameleon Colossus. We get to be on the play this game, which is good against the Thoughtseize deck. We'll get a chance to play our 1-drop before they Thoughtseize it. This opener hands, really tempting with the double Amulet. Those are always good, but with only the 1 land, and it doesn't even produce a color, so we couldn't even get our Dryad. It's really risky, and being on the play, it's just too risky, so we'll mulligan that down. A better hands, actually pretty solid hand here. If they don't have disruption, which they most likely, it's a pretty unsafe thing to rely on. It is a turn 3 Titan. Could turn 2, but not against any kind of disruption. So playing into what they might possibly have, having the push, having the Thoughtseize, we're going to keep this, but we're going to put the Scout on bottom just so we can play the Amulet out on turn 1. Cavern naming Giant, not that it matters too much. Human might have been the better name, but again, it's not really going to matter. If they do play a counterspell, it's going to be Aether Gust, and Cavern doesn't actually stop that anyway. And on turn 2, they don't even have the mana for Aether Gust, so go and play out. Tap our mana, bounce the Cavern, since we do already have the second bounce land in our hands. Play out the Azusa. And then, since we're representing push mana, we just want to play our lands out. Naming Giant again. And they actually dismember here, which is unfortunate. But we still have Titan mana. And of course they have Thoughtseize, so we are now on top deck. Very similar to game 1 here. And very similar to game 1, they have a turn 2 Death Shadow, so draw Courser. That's going to hopefully help get some of these lands off the top of our deck. So we'll play him before making any land drops. See that land on top, get to play it. And then see that second land on top, not really what we were wanting. Really would have liked some kind of threat there, something to draw into. But this Courser is going to gain probably not any kind of significant amount of life against a deck like Death Shadow. It's just going to be attacking for a lot more than what that little bit of life is really going to mean. Again, life total is still fine. Don't really need chump block at this point. Played Dark Confidant, so now got a little bit of this stall game. If we can just keep chump blocking, this Dark Confidant might actually get to finish him off. Another land off top with Corsair, which is fine. And then again, another land off top. So we are just getting a lot of lands in this match. Bajuka Bog, exile the graveyard. At least this land will allow us to shuffle if we do hit 2 more lands in a row again. Dark Confidant hits a Pluto Delta. I'm sorry, it hits a Bloodstained Mire. So Dark Confidant not working for us yet. Going block. At this point, just going to go and block. Death Shadow might just get bigger, but they might also just push our plant, so kind of want to block while we can. Damping Sphere, with how many lands we're drawing, doesn't really do much against us here. Rurik Thar, not too bad of a draw. It will almost prevent him from playing a spell since we're at 7. It would mean that they can only play non-land spells, or they can only play creature spells for the rest of the game. Or also put themselves at 1, which is a dangerously low life total. They're going to sacrifice their land for drawing card. And then Dark Confidant hits an Assassin's Trophy, which is good. Now they're going to get to kill a Corsair. And then, so we know we're drawing a Rurik Thar. It's tempting to just not get the lands and just draw this Rurik, especially with him at 5 now. But the problem is this Death Shadow is big and it's going to be a fast clock. So we really just wanted to get a Titan. So we'll take the shuffle here, hope to get a Titan, hope to get a Field of the Dead, something that can throw chump blockers out every turn, and hope this Confidant kills him. As good as Rurik Thar is, not exactly what we want to draw here. We're even drawing a Karn, getting Ensnaring Bridge will allow this Confidant to just slowly kill him. So take 10 here, putting us at 9, to where even if we got Rurik Thar, it wouldn't help out. It would end up just actually chump blocking Death Shadow. They tap 2 mana. I don't know if they forgot about their own Stamping Sphere and that they already cast a spell. A Scout. I mean, that's a chump blocker, so we'll play out the Scout. Play out one of these lands. With the Damping Sphere, this is just a colorless 1 land, so we'll just play that out so we can bounce this Garden for another blocker next turn. Can't actually play it this turn. Because at this point, we're just going to try to chump block this Shadow until hopefully this Dark Confidant might actually be able to get him low or dead. They unearth to draw more cards, and then Dark Confidant hits their second land. And there's a Glyph, which is not good for our clock, not good for our idea of just chump blocking. Really need that prime time for that Field of the Dead and blockers. Jump block Death Shadow. Take the 2 down to 7. Here's a Grazier. It's an okay blocker. So we play the Garden for a blocker. Play the Grazier for a blocker. To put this land in or not, if we do draw Field of the Dead, I kind of want to land in hand. But if we draw Field of the Dead, we can't play 2 lands in 1 turn anyway. We can save it for a later turn, but I don't think we're going to live long enough to worry about a later turn after that turn. So we're just going to put it in play, give us more mana, more options for what we might draw and make it more likely that we could actually give our primetime haste through a Damping Sphere. They attack in, we're forced to trump block again. And we draw another land, which really makes me think if keeping that one lander would have been the right play, because both of these games we drew a large amount of lands. Keeping a one lander, drawing as many lands as we did, would have actually worked out really well, but that's the variance that is Magic. We pick up our first loss in rounds 4. On to our 5th and final match of the league. We win the die roll again, so we get to be on the play. Good starting hand here. We got our turn 1 Grazier into turn 2 Courser, into hopefully enough lands to get our primetime out. Now what I should have done is put the Field of Dead into play, playing around if I draw into an Amulet, but instead I put in the Growth Chamber and Bounce of Force. It's the same turn 2, it's just having the bounce land in your hand is normally better. It gives you more things to draw and play into. They get the turn 1 Thoughtseize, and they are again a Loros deck. For the 5th game in a row, we are playing against a deck that is playing a companion, and for the 4th time it is Loros. We end up drawing a second bounce land anyway, so it made that first turn not too relevant. They did take our Titan over our Courser, so we do get to still get our turn 2 Courser, which is good for our tempo. They got the turn 2 Tomoglyph. Looking at their lands, this doesn't quite look like the Death Shadow deck. We got Scout on top, play one of our lands for the turn, gain life. Yeah, Wooded Fill Hills, basic mountain, Answer Sphere. So yeah, this is not Death Shadow. So I could block with his Courser, but he has that mana open for Lightning Bolt, which I really don't want to block Courser into Tarmogoyf, because then if he Lightning Bolts me, that puts an instant in the graveyard, which makes Tarmogoyf a 4 power. I lose Courser for nothing. And if I block the Swift Sphere, he can Lightning Bolt the Courser and kill my Courser off. So I think, or just not Lightning Bolt, and still keep his Swift Sphere. So just doesn't seem worth it really to block here. This Courser is going to be gaining me more life than a Lightning Bolt would deal. And I could trade block the Grazer here, force him to do the Lightning Bolt. That might have been the right play, but I think saving it back for a bigger block is also good. Get a land off top here with Courser, which is good. Get life back to 17. Still pretty healthy life total. Play out my Scout. It's going to help me put some of these lands from my hand into play, because I definitely have a lot of those. Spellbombs me, getting rid of my creature but adding an artifact, keeping Tomoglyph still at 3/4. Bobble. Then he plays out his Lolos here. And then he gets a replay Bauble. And for the same reason I didn't block last turn, he still presents that Lightning Bolt man open. I'm not going to block here again. I'll just take the 6 points of damage. And then he actually does have the Lightning Bolt, so it ends up being 10 damage from the Lightning Bolt and the creatures. Gets to draw 2 more cards. I draw into the Explosive, play my land for the turn. So I can Explosive on 1, killing his Swiftsphere, but also killing my Scout and my Grazier. I could EE on 3, but then I lose my Courser, who's going to be gaining me a lot of life, and I'm at low life, so I really do want to keep that Courser out. So the only other option then is 2 to kill this Glyph. And even though he can recast this Glyph with his Loros, if he spends his turn to recast Glyph over recasting Bauble or Spellbomb, that's okay with me. It just gives me more time to get this Field of the Dead online. Plays a Seal of Fire. He goes to face with it, recast it, goes to face with it again rather than hitting my creatures. He's just trying to go all upstairs, hit me in the dome, and then Lightning Bolts me. So now I have to act. Just put in any lands, put in a basic forest. That gives me my 1 life from my Courser, putting me up to 4. Lightning Bolt takes me down to 1. I still have this Ghost Quarter. I can Ghost Quarter my own land just to get the Courser trigger if I really need to. He's got his. He can't really swing with the Loros here because I just blocked with the Courser. Not a very good block for him, or trade for him. So I usually just block the Swiftsphere here, and then crack the EE for 2, killing the Glyph. Grazier dies. Second main. Plays his lands. And plays his Glyph with 2 cards left in hand. Or 1 card left in hand. So prime time on top. Always like seeing that. I just gotta live long enough to get to it. Field of the Dead, making a zombie, and Fountain gaining me 3 life between the Courser and his own into the battlefield trigger. It's a good way to get me there. He goes, plays a Seal of Fire. Now, he didn't bolt me last turn when he had the Manitou, so unless he just top decked the bolt, I don't think he has it. He's going to attack. So I have a lot of options here. Vesuva can come into play as a second Field of the Dead, making 2 zombies. It can come into play as a Fountain, gaining me life. I can just put the Bounce Land into play. I mean, I think the Fountain gaining the 3 life, putting me up to a higher life total, trying to get out of this just Seal firing me to death, and making these jump blocker zombies here, which he really is intent on going to the face and does not want to use any of his burn on my creatures, which is good for me because I just get to jump block these. Then he plays his 3rd Tomowife and his another land, so he's got no cards left in hands, and it is prime time. With a second prime time on top, not that that matters, because this first one is going to shuffle it away. So I really want to give this haste. So I'm going to go get Crumbling Vestige and another bounce land. Boros Garrison works. Gonna put all these on the stack. Gonna make my 2 Feel the Dead tokens. Gonna gain my 2 life, putting me up to a nice safe 9 life. Then this Boros Garrison is going to bounce my Vestige. And I add a red to my mana pool there. And I'm not quite sure why it just glitched there, but I actually returned the Vestige to my hands, and I recast the Vestige, this time adding a white, giving my Primetime haste, attacking in with Primetime, getting a Bajuka Bog, shrinking his graveyard, making his Tormagloyf small, gaining me 2 more life, making more zombies, and I ended up winning this game. I don't know why the game glitched like that though, and this replay ended up glitching like that, and it showed me bouncing the wrong lands, which makes it not being able to play forward anymore because it's wanting me to pay the red, but because it did that, I can't. So, but I did end up winning that game with that attack to Primetime, exiling his graveyard, gaining a lot more life. So, going on to game 2. Alright, on to match 5, game 2. Our sideboard, we didn't have a whole lot. I put in the Abrade, and I took out the Engineer Explosive. And, I mean, that's all I really had for... This is mostly a Karin sideboard, so there's not a whole lot to side in or out. So we are on the draw. Okay, starting hand here. The turn 1 Scout, turn 1 Amulet, 2 Titans. 1 crew will really make this hands good. Go and play the Scout out first. There might have been an argument for the Amulet. Scout does eat up a Lightning Bolt there. But, I mean, if I don't play the Scout turn 1, he's not really good later on in the game. So I would rather just get him out and have him Lightning Bolted than play him later and have him not have too big of an impact. He's got turn 2, 4/5 Glyph. I've got a turn 2 Amulet into a 0/1 plant. There's a Soulscar Mage, and he ends up pushing my plant. I don't quite know why he pushed the plant. I go and just Vesuva and make another plant then. Attacks in. Go and just block here. I'd probably make, if I can draw a Bajuka Bog, I'm just going to make this Glyph smaller anyway. It's actually not going to get bigger. A Kiln Fiend, which could be pretty scary depending on what he has in his hand. He does have 3 cards. Just play another lands and hope I can live one more turn so I can get prime time out. There's a Manamorphose, not looking good for living one more turn. And Glyph is actually a little bit better. He does get to attack in here for 10, putting me down to 5. So I draw the Pact here. So doing the math, I have the Vesuva. I really want to Pact for the Dryad and then play Titan, but I'm actually 1 mana shy of being able to play the Dryad and then Titan, because it costs 3 mana to play the Dryad, leaves me with 1 open. I play my 2 land drops, that's 4 mana, not enough to play the Titan. So I could get a Azusa, but similar line, I could play a Titan from getting Azusa, but it doesn't actually really net me much, so just playing out the Titan seems the best thing, and saving the Pact for later. Bounce the Vesuva, it's the most versatile land to bounce, and then it allows me to be able to get Field of the Dead online, because now I have different land names. Get Prime Time, get my Haste, bounce my Garden so I can replay that later for more mana, or for more blockers, attack in, and then again when the struggles of the deck, so many choices of here of what I can get. So I'm at 5. I really want to get Bojuka Bog, Field of the Dead, and Radiant Fountain, but I can only get 2 lands here. So trying to decide if it's more important to gain that 2 life, make those blockers, or exile his graveyard. With him having 2 Tarmogoyfs and Loros, I think getting rid of that graveyard is going to be my best thing, and making blockers, getting Field of the Dead out first is going to be better for later turns, because I'll be able to get more zombies. So shrink that, make his glyphs now 1/2, which also makes it not really a reason to block. Mana, so he's going to Molten Rain my Field of the Dead. Puts me down to 3. Puts his Tomoglyphs up to 3/4s. But still, if he swings out, I get to kill his kill feed, kill a Glyph, chump block another Glyph, and go to 1, and then swing back for lethal. So he's not really in a position to be able to swing here. It's very close though. And then at this point, now that I kept the Pact, I can just Pact for the Dryad, play out the Dryad with my first land, play Vesuva, copying Valakut, 2 triggers to face, 6 damage, second land drop, I don't get because he's already dead. But that's it, so went this league, 2-0 each match, except for against when the Death Shadow matches got flooded, ended up getting an 0-2. So not a bad 4-1 finish. Playing against what seems to be the new modern companion decks with what might be the only non-companion deck in the format. So thanks for watching my video. Until next time, I'll see you all later.